Nuclear war is apparently coming. Those are the words of a former top Russian general, Alexander Vladimirov, who wrote Russia's 3-volume book called The General Theory of War. In an interview over the past 24 hours, he says that nuclear war with the West is inevitable. Inevitable. And he doesn't mince words with this either. Nuclear war is inevitable. And he says this is the conclusion of the Ukrainian invasion. And he says basically, the goals of Russia and the goals of the West are their survival and historical eternity, he says. And this means that in the name of this, all means of armed struggle available to them will be used, including such a tool as their nuclear weapons, he says. He also warned, I am sure that nuclear weapons will be used in this war, inevitably. From this, neither we nor the enemy have anywhere to go.
Okay.
So this comes as, over the past 24 hours, Ukraine has tried to force NATO into a broader war, invoking Article 5, saying that, hey, this suicide drone that landed in Romania is Russian, and clearly Russia is attacking Romania, and therefore you should invoke Article 5, and therefore NATO goes to war and launches a full-scale war against Russia. To which Romania responded and said, nope, not going to. Nothing, that Russia has done nothing inside of Ukraine or inside of Romanian borders. And they, here it is. Sorry. If I pull this up, NATO Article 5, this is according to Zero Hedge just a few minutes ago. On Monday, a very similar situation happened. Ukraine's attempt to drag the West into direct shooting with war with Russia has failed. Ukraine's foreign ministry spokesman Oleg Nikolenko said in a written statement that Russian suicide drone struck Romanian territory. Then, of course, he cited, this is yet another confirmation that Russia's missile terror poses a huge threat not only to Ukraine's security, but also to the neighboring countries, including NATO member states, Ukraine said. Well, then Romania quickly rejected this narrative, and its defense ministry refuting the claim, saying the Ministry of National Defense categorically denies information from the public space regarding a so-called situation that occurred the night of September 3rd into the 4th, in which a Russian drone allegedly fell on the national territory of Romania. Basically saying, nope, didn't happen. So this reminds me of what Ukraine tried to do with Poland. Remember, of course, the missile strike, the errant air defense missile that landed inside of Polish territory and apparently killed a number of individuals. And then Zelensky got right on television and was like, we need to go to war. You need to launch a nuclear attack. Article 5, NATO needs to attack Russia. So this is absolute desperation here. But, back to this point about nuclear war. I mean, what he's saying is that NATO has had every opportunity to really back off, step back, and call for peace, and instead they're doing the exact opposite. They're continuing to double down. Now NATO countries are rounding up Ukrainian men to send them back to the fight. They're continuing to send weapons. The Biden administration just doubled down on more money and weapons to Ukraine. So this ends with some sort of a nuclear strike. This ends with some sort of a tactical nuclear weapon. And he says, Putin is not bluffing about this. If your entire country's future is at stake because NATO has surrounded your country and is going to put nuclear weapons in Finland or other spots right on their doorstep, this is not going to fly.
Put the shoe on the other foot and imagine if it was the BRICS nations building bases in Mexico. Like, well, we made a pact with Mexico, we made a pact with Canada, and we're going to put some BRICS bases there, in those countries. What would we do?
Right.
Yeah, that would never happen. That's why Russia needs its own Monroe Doctrine, like a meaningless piece of paper written in the 1820s by an old president. Says you cannot build military bases in the Western Hemisphere.
Well, they had a bit of it in the Minsk agreements, at least, the sort of spirit of it, and that has been violated. So what would it be worth
It's
anyway?
like when the treaties protect us, we want to keep them. But when they don't, like when it's a treaty that we've signed with another country, we don't care.
Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.